start of the week, really excited. And I have with me somebody who I've known for a number of years now and who has really inspired me to see things in a different way and to add on a whole new way of how you might run your business. And this especially comes down to short-term rentals, so if you're running serviced accommodation. But not only that, I think it really filters out into just how you would run your business anyway. So I'm going to get Chris Maughan here to give a quick introduction to himself for anyone who haven't heard of him yet. And if you haven't, I'm sure you'll hear all about him and really start seeing all the bits and pieces that he does to genuinely contribute to actually changing short-term rental and the this sort of what's the kind of word, but you know, the way that industry works now and the way it's respected, that's the word I'm looking for, has been down to what Chris has done and his works over the years. So yeah, Chris, please give us a brief introduction.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me, Emma. It's a pleasure to be here. So yeah, so basically I try to keep it as short as possible, but
no, you don't have to. We've got an hour.
I mean, I've been in the short-term rental industry for like 24 years. When I moved from the north of England down to south of France in Cannes, and I've been there ever since. So I started off like back in 2000, basically building a short-term rental company from scratch, you know, from no website, no properties, no staff, no nothing. And basically today we now, you know, a company probably within the top three, certainly, where we manage just short of like 270 properties, luxury properties. And we are a corporate agency, so we don't really do holiday lets, and we now manage all of the accommodation for companies like Google, Twitter, well now X, but Twitter, Spotify, MTV, Disney. So some big corporate brands are in our portfolio, and we basically serve them as when they come down to Cannes for business. And we've been doing that for like 24 years, and I'm still the CEO of that company, and we're still thriving today. But also later on in my journey, around 2014, I witnessed fraud for the first time within our industry when a family of, you know, husband and wife, 3 children, booked a fake villa online, and lost £15,000. So they arrived in the south of France and basically went to the address to realize that the villa didn't exist. So they found our short-term rental company through a Google search, and I met this couple. We helped them out finding alternative accommodation, but that was like a real segue for me to kind of start thinking, how did this happen? I mean, I've been in the industry so long, and I didn't really think that fraud was a big problem. So once I investigated it, I realized that this wasn't like a one-off incident. It was pretty rife across, globally. So I couldn't find a solution for it and thought, well, I think I'll build it. So I decided to investigate how we could solve the solution. And that's how I-PRAC was founded in 2014. And then we spent 2 years through R&D, research and development, to get it to launch. And we launched I-PRAC in April 2016. And since then, we've, gone through, a lot of growth, and we're now in like 28 countries, and we've got just short of 15,000 members. And basically what we are is a certification platform that verifies legitimate, trustworthy, professional operators in the short-term rental space so that they can showcase that they're legitimate. And basically what that does, it just gives more trust to a guest booking with them directly, mainly. But it's a platform that's changed how operators do direct bookings, but also bring that level of like differentiation to the industry, because it was a little bit like the Wild West prior to I-PRAC. I mean, we've still got a long way to go, don't get me wrong, but there was never any kind of differentiation of like, who is the professionals within the industry? Like, who are the people that you can trust? Because you can't just rely on a half decent website and some reviews. That's just not going to cut it anymore. So you need some kind of third-party verification that's coming in and saying this company or this private owner has gone through the I-PRAC robust approval status, and now they're approved, and now they can showcase their I-PRAC logo and basically just build that more trust and confidence within the industry. So that's where I am today. I'm the CEO of both companies, but I have an MD in both. So I do kind of, like we were talking offline, I don't work as hard as I used to, but I'm still very hands-on with what's going on with the growth of I-PRAC and obviously AES here in Cannes. So that's a short version.
Fantastic. No, that's really great, Chris. Thanks for that introduction. So I think, you know, as I say, there's so many kind of nuances that I'd really just love to cover here. And one thing I'd really like to do is to go back a bit, how you started your journey. And obviously we hear how you kind of thought of I-PRAC. But another thing I really want to touch on here is you've kind of introduced what you've coined it as a trust strategy. So you've got a marketing strategy, you've got those other things. So I really want to touch on that as well. But going back, because I help a lot of, and in fact, I'm on, fingers crossed, should be onboarding a couple this week. I help, you know, mentor new people to the short-term rental industry. And it's really inspirational, I think, to sort of hear others and how they started. And obviously, you know, a lot of people are in the UK. So I know there's other people doing stuff in Dubai. You've got yours in Cannes. So what was it that made you choose to go down to Cannes, you know, quite a number of years ago, 24 years ago, you said, and you know, and jump out of the boat, I suppose. That would be a big leap of faith. What made you go that direction?
Well, it started because I used to, in the UK, I was in private health clubs, and I used to be Duncan Bannatyne's number 2. I mean, you maybe know Duncan Bannatyne from Bannatyne Health Clubs. Yeah. So I was his number 2 in the UK. I used to be working in the head office in Darlington, and basically I worked there, and he wanted to build a health club in the south of France. Wow. So part of the job was to come down and do all the due diligence and do all the, you know, the figures and see what it was. And it's basically, I spent 6 months here looking at whether a health club was going to be feasible. It turned out that the figures didn't really work out in terms of the build and costs and different things. But so at that point, he'd turn around and said, okay, well, we'll knock that on the head and you can come back to Darlington. And I was like, that's not happening either, you know. So I'd already been here 6. You know,
I can't imagine why.
Yeah, well, you know, this is the thing. So I'd spent 6 months in Cannes, and I'd experienced like so many, like a different culture, different language, met different people from all over the world. It was a little bit different to being in the north of England. So, but what I'd realized,
sorry, we were just talking about this earlier, and it's something that I was just talking about with my kids at the moment. I've got 2 boys who are 18, and they you know, they're just out and about, starting to live life, you know, driving, and they're feeling this freedom, and they seem to think that what they're experiencing at the moment is amazing. And I keep saying to them, honestly, what you're experiencing at the moment is really nothing. It's very average. I want you to experience something amazing. So what you did to go down to the south of France is you suddenly would have seen something different. It's not for everyone, but just experiencing something different, I think, is so key and important. So
oh, I think so. I think that's probably the biggest gift we can give our children is the freedom to go and fail or succeed, but go out there and get into the big bad world. You know, trying to restrict them isn't doing them any good. So I think you're doing a great job if you can let your kids say to them, you know, look, go out and experience life, and you'll have a good journey. I mean, I think that's important message for anybody. It's, you know, it's hard as a parent to let your kids do that, but I think it's part and parcel of it. You've got to let them go.
Yeah, exactly. So so you're in Cannes, and you were kind of like, not sure I want to go home necessarily.
Well, yeah, and I don't, because I'd lived in Cannes for so long, and obviously the work wasn't like it wasn't that intense to, you know. So I was watching what was going on in Cannes itself, and I witnessed like the big MIPIM festival, which is the big property event in Cannes. and you know, like 25,000 people come into Cannes for like this one event. Then you have the Cannes Film Festival, and there was some other events, and there was this accommodation kind of sector, you know. It was like, so there was all these real estate agents who were providing accommodation, doing apartment rentals. And I was looking at this thinking, you know, this is like a real good business. I think this is like, but what I did realize was that these French agents were doing a real poor job of it. But at the same time, the customers, the guests coming from all over the world didn't really have another option. There was like 6,000 hotel rooms in Cannes. So the only other way to stay in Cannes was through a private apartment. But the standard of these apartments were horrendous. Horrendous. So when I looked at it and I thought, what this sector needs is somebody to turn it on its head and do it properly, correctly, with a corporate mentality, and find the properties that suited a corporate mindset, a corporate requirement. So basically that's how AES was born. And from there, we just basically went out and just completely remarketed how short-term rentals was going to work in Cannes. And we very quickly became, you know, one of the leaders because of what the marketing we were doing, the brand reputation we were building, but also the properties that we were, you know, we weren't just taking any old property. You know, we were really doing our due diligence on what properties, you know, were suited to our brand, where we wanted to be. And that was when we got MTV was our first big like corporate company. And from there, from once we had MTV, we leveraged that, and then we went on to like, you know, Disney, Google, and all these other big brands. But to move on to like where we were, when I was watching everybody who was all about marketing through product, okay? And this is when I talk a lot about trust marketing and product marketing, and everybody's looking to really like market the products that they have. Look at this great 3-bedroom apartment we have. Look at this, look at that, you know. So product marketing is important. I'm not saying it isn't, but what people tend to ignore is the trust factor. And if you break down, or you want to re-engineer a booking, and you go from what the guest is thinking, they need to trust in who you are as a brand, a company, if they want to book with you. They're not going to book if they don't trust you. That's a given. So we were doing some work with Disney, and I actually had the opportunity to sit down with 2 of the directors who were our contact for the accommodation. And I asked them the question, why do you continue to use AES? You know, because it's important for me to ask these questions, because I need to know where we're going right, but also where we're going wrong. And at that time, I was expecting, well, your apartments are great, your price is competitive, your service is great, your team's good, and all. I was expecting this kind of answer. And they both just said, well, that's easy, Chris, we trust you. And that was the light bulb moment for me, because it was like, I don't trust. Yeah, okay, now I understand it. Now it was like, the penny dropped, because when they turned around and said to me, we understand in corporate world, things can go wrong. What we need to know is, can we trust in our partner to fix it? Do we trust in them enough to deliver? And it all came down to trust. And at that point, I sat down with my team and I said, we're changing the whole way that we're approaching the marketing of this business. We're going to go straight down the world of trust marketing. That's what I want to do. And we changed it. So we stopped doing product marketing, and all our marketing was focused on trust and reputation and brand. And once we started doing that, it basically attracted people to our business. And then we just went from like a £5 million turnover to like 15 million in the space of like 18 months, because we were signing bigger contracts, bigger brands were coming in. You know, Spotify was a big one. They were like worth about nearly $1 million on their own, but they weren't going to trust us with that kind of investment in their directors and their leadership team in apartments with a company that they couldn't trust.
Yeah.
So trust was the pillar. And this is what I try to educate people today, is that, of course, you need to do product marketing. People need to know what your products are all about. But if you're not putting trust as the main foundation of your business, then people don't believe that you're trustworthy.
Yeah.
So trust is everything. And that's kind of fits into like what we do at I-PRAC, which gives people, operators, the opportunity to build trust overnight by becoming I-PRAC approved. So trust is like the key thing. And I just want people today to understand that I built my company, and we switched in around 2006 to trust marketing. And that's where retention comes from. Retention's built from trust. Like referrals comes from trust, because sometimes we get Disney will say, oh yeah, our suppliers here, yes, in Cannes, yeah, they're really great. Nobody recommends anybody unless they trust them. Yeah. We've all heard it before, haven't we? It's like, do you know a good plumber? No, I don't. I'd just rather not recommend anybody in case it goes wrong. How many times have you heard people say that? It's like, I'm not going to recommend somebody because the day it goes wrong, you're going to call me and go, that guy you recommended did a really shitty job.
Yeah.
So if you trust somebody enough, then you will recommend. So that's why that trust factor is just like gold. And if you don't concentrate on it and build it, and as we said before, have a trust strategy, then you're never going to build it. You just automatically think, well, I'm trustworthy. You might think you are trustworthy, but from the outside world, you're not. So it's your job to showcase that.
Yeah, that's amazing. Chris, I'd really, really appreciate it, because, one of the things that I love is business. And, the property business, sometimes it can seem, some people kind of will take on, let's say properties for serviced accommodation or for short-term rental. And they don't necessarily think of the bigger picture as as a business. It's just, pop it on a online travel agent, the business comes in and then we're done, kind of thing, which is kind of fine if you open up in a really busy place and you can't help it. It's a bit like when I went to somewhere in where was it, Ecuador it was, and I remember arriving, we had to trek overnight and do various things, catch all these random buses, and we arrived at this place, and it was very rural, very rustic, and they said, you want fish for dinner? We were like, yeah, we'll have a bit of fish. They gave us a line and then pointed at a pond, and the pond, we literally put the line in, and there was so many fish in there that everyone caught one within 2 seconds. So you have that kind of market where you just can't help but get bookings.
Yeah,
it's not really a sustainable model, and especially as you get more and more people coming in and starting up. So I'm always really keen. You would have seen, obviously, you saw a massive gap in your particular market. There wasn't a good quality product that you could offer. But on top of that, I'm sure there have been others, you've been doing this for a long time now, who came in and wanted to do what you're doing, and perhaps did, and maybe had a nice product and maybe did that, but they haven't been sustained. So I'd love to hear from your perspective, what do you think? And obviously I know trust comes into it, but just generally from a business perspective, how do you see that you were a bit different? So you spoke about earlier how
it all comes down to financial hygiene. I mean, if you're not running your business correctly, then you're going to fail, right? That doesn't matter what business you're in. If you're not on top of your numbers, you're going to fail, right? Because you can't see what you're spending, what your outgoings, your incomes, you just can't see it. And I mean, one of the biggest problems that we have in this industry or in any business is most people starting off, they tend not even know what a P&L is or a forecast. So they can't actually sit and look at the business and think, right, can we afford this? Can we afford 3 more team members? Can we afford to invest in that property? How much are we spending on marketing for the next 3 months? What's the maintenance cost? Can we reduce the cleaning? There's all of these factors that have to come in. And this is when people turn around and go, I want to scale my business. And it's like, I understand scale. You know, I mean, you know, it's very important for any business to scale. But scaling has to come, it's all done at the right time. You know, so like you can't just go and, like, a lot of people in the serviced accommodation industry think scaling is about getting as many properties on their books as possible. That's a recipe for disaster. You've got to scale at the right point. You might go and sign 6 3-bedroom apartments and you've only got a market for 2 beds. You know, your biggest demand is 2 beds. Why would you want a 3-bed? Why would you want to overload 3 beds? And then what happens is you're promising property owners a certain return and you're not giving them it. So then what happens is they then want to move agents, and then you get a bad reputation for not delivering. Again, trust. If you say to a property owner, we're now in the market for 3 new 2 beds. Our demand is high, you know, so we need, if we want to scale, we need 3 more 2 beds on our books. So then you go out actively and look for them 3 2 beds that suit your brand, because you know when they come into your portfolio, you've got bookings ready for them, because that's what your demand says, you know. And this is all done through understanding the market and having all of the relevant information at your fingertips, which is like all of the booking, you know, like all of your booking analysis, your analytics. You can see what properties are a premium, what properties are in high demand, and you need to be on top of all of that right from the start, whether you've got 1 or 2 properties, because them systems you input at the start are going to serve you as you grow. But you can't grow like that, because you're just going to drop right back down. You've got to sustain it through and this is what people think. They see, you know, keeping up with the Joneses. They see somebody else, oh, I've just got 40 properties. I'm now at 60 properties. Forget all that. I know here in Cannes, I know that there's companies who are managing 100 properties, okay, and a company that are managing 50 properties, and the company that are managing 50 properties are more profitable than the company managing 100 properties. So that goes to show it's not about the number of properties you have under management. It's about how you manage it. And that is all comes down to financial hygiene. So get your finances in check, understand what a P&L is. If you don't know what it is, that's okay. But start learning about it. Don't just think that, okay, I get a property, I put it on Airbnb and I get some money and I service it and that's it. That's not going to be sustainable.
Yeah, absolutely. It is about sort of creating this business. And I love it. You always come up with new words. I've never heard of financial hygiene. That's absolutely amazing. And I was exactly that person when I very first started out. I mean, I've just set up another rent-to-rent service accommodation business. I haven't done it for a while. I built up a business and then sold it. And then I've got a great landlord who wants me to take properties. So it seems rude not to.
Well,
so yeah, exactly. So I've just set up another one, and I find it's just an amazing opportunity, because people often say, what would you do if you were able to go back and do it again? And I feel like I've got that opportunity to go back and do it again with what I know now.
Yeah.
And it's just been, I mean, the properties still look great, but what I've spent this time, I mean, it's like a third of what I originally spent, and it's still a fantastic product. It still looks great. And then also, as you say, keeping on top of things from a financial perspective is just so key, and it's not a strength of mine. And it almost makes me feel unwell, but I'm really pushing it through. I go out of my way now, and not just in the business, but my personal spending now. You know, each month I've got a list. And it's quite frightening when you're like, gosh, that is how much we spend on a monthly basis. Yeah. And this is how much money is coming in. You know, where does it even out? Do we need to spend that? How much are we spending on the kids? You know, how much are you spending doing various things? And actually having an understanding of that, as you said, having this kind of financial hygiene. Yeah, I mean, that's
it's critical. It's critical for, I mean, look, if you're a business in the serviced accommodations sector, and you're kind of pretty much predominantly relying on an OTA like Airbnb or Booking.com, a lot of the work really is done by the OTA, right? I mean, all you're doing is listing it. The guest communication is done through the OTA, and basically what you are is a supplier to the OTA. You know, they're coming in to your property that you're servicing. So you service the property, they have a great stay, and then they leave, and you think you've got a business, but you don't really have a business, because it's like that old saying, you don't build your house on somebody else's land. And that's what you're doing with relying on Airbnb. Now, there's no problem with starting with Airbnb. And if you've only got the intention to have 1 or 2 properties, then maybe Airbnb is the right option for you. Pay the commission and stay under that radar, and that's fine. I'm not dissing Airbnb. But if you've got the intention to grow a short-term rental accommodation business, then you have to be sure that you're going to be reducing that OTA reliance. So maybe you start off at 100%. That's fine. But you have to be on a vision to say, within the first 6 months, I want that reliance to go from 100% to 80. And then I want it to go from 80 to 70, and 70 to 60, and 60 to 50. And so basically what you're doing is you're starting at an OTA level, and then slowly you're building up your direct bookings and your business, because when you're on the OTAs, you don't have any control over the business. You don't have any control over the finance. You don't even get paid until the guest checks in. I mean, I couldn't agree to that in my life, but that's the way people are. That's the only choice they've got. So you've got to turn around and understand, what do you want to build? What is your intention? And then you've got to start having that strategy and plan in place to reduce the OTA, build your own direct booking website, start on your trust strategy, your trust marketing, learn how to convert an OTA booking into a direct booking, which isn't easy, but it's possible, you know, and have a strategy to remove that OTA reliance into direct bookings, if that's what you want to do. But don't just sit there and think, I'm going to build an STR business and I'm going to get to 100 properties, and you're relying 100% on an OTA for the revenue. It's like business suicide. I mean, you just heard what happened a few weeks ago. Somebody on Airbnb, their account just went off. 56 properties gone, finished. For some reason, the guest complained to Airbnb about a ring camera or something like that, and Airbnb just shut their account down, all their bookings, everything. So they've got no control, you know. And a lot of the time now, what's happening is guests are checking in and they're doing chargebacks, so that you don't even get paid. You've got all this extra administration, so you're not in control of the cancellation policy, which is a big one, you know, because if you can't control that, you're basically just putting all your eggs into the basket of the OTA, which is like I said, it's business suicide, because you don't have the control. All successful businesses are because you have control. You make the decisions, you control what's going on, you control your customer, you control your finances, you control everything. Now, the OTAs have made a great, you know, they've done wonders for the industry, don't get me wrong, but you can't rely on them. Otherwise, you're not building anything that could be sustainable. It's a risk, and that's what you don't want. So you must start reducing that OTA reliance to direct bookings through different strategies, so that you can control your business.
Yeah, absolutely. It comes back to, doesn't it, this whole kind of understanding your market, understanding the demand, so you can be led by this demand. So like you said, you know, people go out there and they set up just a property, and my first question is, you know, what research have you done on the area, and who's your target market? And if they say, oh, everyone, I'm always a bit like, oh, that's a bit worrying. And people are kind of frightened, aren't they? So you really niched, and look at the success that you've done.
Yeah.
And it's all about, isn't it? If you want to be something to everyone, you're actually not really anything to anyone.
Absolutely.
But you know, there's a lot of people who are really frightened, but it's actually so much better to be known for one thing, and then that's going to grow. So that kind of demand-led approach. It's just absolutely the right. And then you can, I mean, we both know very well sort of Mark Simpson Boostly. He's also doing a huge amount for the industry. Absolutely. And really trying to turn it on their heads as far as getting as many direct bookings, because it doesn't have to be a really, you know, suddenly really challenging different thing. And he does very simple things to help people grow that. So yeah, that's really amazing from that side. And just another sort of business question. I mean, it's clear, you know, you hear people saying things like, oh, you're lucky, or you've done this. And I don't actually even think there is such a thing as luck. I think you can generate your own luck, which is clearly what you've done. But you know, just to give people who are, as I say, maybe starting out and are coming across roadblocks, as you're naturally going to do, what do you think that you did along the way when those roadblocks cropped up or things happened? Where did you go to get your help, or how did you go about sort of solving those problems and generating that luck?
Well, I mean, when I was kind of starting off, I mean, social media didn't exist really. You know, OTAs didn't exist. I mean, Airbnb didn't exist. Booking.com was mainly for hotels. So I was kind of like on my own really. And because I was the first one to do what we were doing, there was nobody I could lean on and kind of say, well, how would you solve this problem? Because nobody else had solved it. I was the one who was leading the new generation of short-term rentals in Cannes. So we were all about, you know, like service and reputation and brand and you know, and trust. So nobody else was doing that. So I couldn't really go to anybody else and say, how would you solve this? So a lot of it comes down to just being able to analyze the business and understand where the problems come. And it does happen a lot when you don't, you know, young entrepreneurs or people starting off in a business, they're just so eager to succeed that they don't take time out to value or understand where the business is heading. Like taking some, like, you know, the old saying, work on it, not in it. And I think what a lot of the time I would look at and just say, right, I'm taking some time off so that I can look at it and say, well, how did this problem arrive? How can it be solved? If we solve it this way, will that work? Will it solve everything? Will it solve just a part of it? You know, get down your piece of paper, write it all down, let your subconscious mind think on it a little bit, take some time out the business, go for a walk, go for a run, take a holiday, you know, whatever it takes, you're going to find the solution. You're going to find it. And not every solution is the right one. And you soon realize it, but sometimes you've just got to make a decision. Like so many people sit on the fence for far too long and don't make a decision. Sometimes as a boss or a leader or a CEO or whatever, you've just got to say, that's what we're going to do, right? And I've done it before, you know, in board meetings and say, right, two team members have come to me and said, this is what I think we should do. And this is what I think we should do. Two people, completely two different solutions to the problem. And I've just gone, we'll go with that one. And they're going to go, well, how, you haven't really looked at it. I says, well, we won't know until we try it. And if yours doesn't work, we'll try yours. But we're going to try one of them now. So let's implement it and let's go. So don't sit on the fence too long. Go down the route. If it fails, great. You've learned something. You've learned that wasn't the right solution. But on that way, you might have found some things that worked that you could take to the new solution, the second solution. You know, so it's all about analyzing, taking your time to look at the problem in depth, and not taking any quick decisions, but not sitting on the fence too long, and you know, because that doesn't help anybody. Yeah. I would say that would be but now you've got people online, and you've got mentors, and you've got LinkedIn, you've got coaches, you've got courses, you've got everything. And that's probably one of the problems people have. There's so much, you know, sweets in the sweetie shop type thing, and it's hard to work out who do you listen to. And I did a post on LinkedIn not so long ago, I think last week. I said, be careful who you're listening to, you know, because there's people asking for directions from people who've never been where they want to go. It's like, why would you do that? Like, it's like somebody, I want to scale to 50 properties. So then why are you taking lessons from a guy who's only scaled to 15? What can he teach you about getting to 50? You can't. You've got to find somebody who's done what you want to do, what you want to achieve. And 9 times out of 10, I get the odd call, not a lot, but I get the odd call that basically says, would you mind giving me some advice? I want to get to like 100 properties and I know that you've achieved that already, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Let's have a look at where you are in your business. But if somebody said to me, I want to scale to 2,000 properties, I'll be like, I'm not the right guy. I've never done it. You know, so you've got to do your due diligence on who is the right people.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's hard. I mean, I got a call 3 weeks ago from a coach, you know, and they were like, you know, do you need some help scaling your business? And I was like, what business? And they said, hey, you know, you're a company in Cam. I says, well, we're not really looking to scale. I said, why are you asking? He's like, well, I'm a coach. And I asked him the question. I says, well, how does your business perform? He said, well, I don't have a business. What, so you've never ran a short-term rental business and you want to coach me? So I don't understand. You know, I've probably got socks older than this guy. Right? So you've got to be aware of like who you're listening to and whether that, and do your due diligence behind the scenes. Like, is this the right guy? What has he done? Just seeing somebody sitting on the Ferrari, that's not validation. He's successful.
Yeah.
So listen to the right people, do your due diligence, don't sit on the fence too long and analyze the problem and you'll find the solution.
Yeah, no, that's really powerful. And I think I hadn't really realized, you know, coming into sort of the business world, how important this making a decision is. And when I look back on things, you know, has every decision been right? Not necessarily. But I think just the fact that you also trust yourself to make that decision and you just got to go with it. And if you're constantly second guessing yourself, you know, I certainly went through a stage of, you know, it's kind of like not trusting yourself, going back to trust. And obviously then that's going to bring some decay inside yourself because you're not giving yourself that confidence to move forward. And it's just kind of like, you know, if you knew that no matter what, you were going to keep going, just go and make those decisions. And I think that's a certain amount of freedom. And then
it comes from fear, you know, it's the fear of failing, basically, fear of making the wrong decision. But you cannot think like that. You know, you've got to, if you're going to be successful in business, you're going to fail thousands of times, thousands of times. You're going to make the wrong decision thousands of times. And that's okay. Yeah. That's what getting successful is. It's learning from them little mistakes that you've made. I won't do that again. I won't do that again. And this all becomes subconscious knowledge so that when you're in a situation again, you'll be like, no, I'm not doing it like that because I learned the hard way. You know, so sometimes you've got to make them decisions, go with it. If it works out, great. If it doesn't, you've learned that wasn't the right one. You can pivot and go somewhere else and succeed down the other road. But business is never going to be like a trajectory of just like from 0 to 1,000. It's a bumpy road. You got to just strap yourself in and enjoy the ride because that's what it is. It's a ride. And I think the more you get that into your mindset, the easier it is to make quick decisions. Yeah. Because it's like, I don't mind to fail. Failing's the normal way.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
You know, but there's so much fear around failing, and that's like subconscious. It's like, but you've got to get over that. So I would say you should read books around fear and work out how you can overcome your fear. You know, like you're scared, but you're going to do it anyway. But there's nothing worse than not trying or not making that decision, because that's where the failure is, not making the decision.
Yeah. And it's also, we talk a lot about, we call it the black dog on your shoulder, and they're there kind of going, mang, 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 mang. And it's kind of, you know, whether you kind of, I physically kind of, I just sort of bat it away, you know, leave me alone. Let me just get on with it. I'm going to give it a go. And I find that there's a lot of things where, you know, it seems lucky or serendipitous, but you know, and in fact, January has just been a huge month for me with all these serendipitous things happening. And when I look back, because obviously you need to kind of reflect and think, well, what have I done to enable that? And a lot of it was just seeing opportunities. And there would be days when I would think, oh, I just don't really feel like going and doing that. And then just thinking, you know what, I really know that it's important for my business. I'm going to go and do it. And I've gone and done it. And then suddenly walked away from it thinking, wow, if I hadn't have gone to that meeting, I wouldn't have heard that. That wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's just really being open to following through and you know, not staying within that safety zone as well. So I think, amazingly powerful, especially as you say, you kind of started everything when there wasn't so much out there. And I feel really fortunate, you know, one, that I can live everything in my phone. I just feel, and I can, you know, I listen to my books. I don't even have to read a book nowadays. I can just sit and listen. I've got podcasts.
Yeah, the tools are there now.
It's just I feel just incredibly fortunate. Okay, so I know otherwise we'll go on, and I really want to touch more into this kind of, you know, so we've touched on this trust strategy, and I know you've talked about, you know, that brings attention to you as well as retention, and it all came, certainly I-PRAC came of, you know, hearing about, and I was pretty shocked about it as well when you hear, because I think inherently you run a business how you think everyone else runs a business. And there are fraudsters out there, aren't they, who do bad things. And we've got to ensure that people know that when they come to you, that's great. So from that trust, let's sort of move more into what you feel is, you know, what does a trust strategy look like to you? I mean, obviously we've got I-PRAC as well, but yeah, sort of talk us through that.
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, a trust strategy has to start with, with a website. You know, I mean, if you're not, you know, you've got to have a shop window. You know, I mean, a website really is your real estate. You know, that's your prime, because that's where you want to drive the traffic to. Now, if you're driving traffic to a website that holds no reputation or brand or trust, then your homepage bounce rate is going to be through the roof. So basically what that means is you're wasting money on marketing money, dollars, pounds, euros, whatever you want to call it, driving traffic to a product that nobody can trust. Right? So that's the first thing you've got to understand. You've got to understand, what does my real estate, what does my shop window look like? And once you start looking at how your website is built and designed, this is where it all kind of stems from, because you've got to think about how your website journey, in terms of when somebody lands on your homepage, what does it look like from the journey of a potential guest? And what they need is, within the first 7 to 10 seconds of landing on your homepage, they need validation that they're in the right place. Right? I mean, we all know it. You've arrived on a website and, you know, something just doesn't look right, you're gone. It happens, you know, like maybe it's the design, maybe it's the layout, maybe it's complicated, maybe you don't believe that you're in the right place, it's not clear. So I don't have much time, I'm gone.
And there's certain things, aren't they? Like, especially when people are offering service and things like that, and you go on there and there's not a picture of anyone. And I just absolutely, like, to me, what's most important is, especially in this world like we are at this second, of just this flat screen, I want to see somebody. I want to see, and it's, you know, and even pictures in our hotel, we have pictures of people who are our target customer as well.
Yeah.
Because I want people to go, oh, actually, yeah, that's me. I'm a contractor. I actually would like to sit in that sofa.
This is how you have to do it. You have to get into the psychology of the consumer. Now, if you're buying, let's try to break this down a little bit. If you're buying the pair of shoes, right, for $20, $50, €50, pounds, whatever, right? You go on Amazon, you trust Amazon, okay, already, and you know them shoes are going to get delivered to your door within 24 hours, 48 hours, whatever, right? The level of uncertainty for that transaction is very low, right? Because it's 50 pounds. I'm sitting at home. I'm going to wait for the delivery guy. He's going to knock on the door. I'm going to get it. Level of uncertainty at a minimum, okay, for that transaction. Let's replace that transaction with a short-term rental, right? The level of uncertainty is sky high, the biggest, right? Because the price point is anywhere between, I don't know, depending on the properties, but let's say an average of a week, let's say 1,500 to 2,000 pounds a week, right? I mean, that's not our pricing here in Cannes, that's for sure, but let's just go with that for a while, right? So all of a sudden, that's the price point. You don't know the person you're paying. There's another level of uncertainty. And the fact is, you're also going to stay there. You're leaving the comfort of your own home. So you're needing that roof over your head. So you're paying a high price point. You're going to need somewhere to stay. Okay? And you don't know this person. This is a really tough decision. So the level of uncertainty is so high, and it increases even more if you're traveling with children. And it increases even more if you're booking on behalf of other people. Like if you have to book a ski chalet for 10 of your friends, I'll guarantee you're going to go to booking.com or Airbnb. You know why? Because if something goes wrong and your friends say, who did you book it with? You say Airbnb, booking.com. Why wouldn't I trust them? But if you turn around and went, well, I booked it from Jeff Stays. Yeah, but what, you paid Jeff Stays our money. Who's Jeff Stays? We never heard of him. You understand? So all of a sudden, you've got to understand the level of uncertainty is what a guest has. And this is all subconscious. So they arrive on your website and already you're trying to reduce that level of uncertainty through trust signals. Okay? So trust signals are what builds trust throughout the journey of the website. So when you arrive on the homepage, maybe you've got something on the homepage that says 89% of our guests book direct because they trust us. Here's why. Now, the psychology any guest will click on that. Here's why. Because they focus on the word trust, because that's just human nature, because they want to trust you. They want to find out why they can trust you. So they click on that. And then that will go to a trust page on your website. And this is where it gets interesting in terms of your trust strategy, because this has got nothing to do with product. This page is a trust page, right? So this is about why trust is important to you as a company, and why it's important that your guests feel that they can trust you and reduce the level of uncertainty. Cancellation policy, your I-PRAC certification, other certifications, photos of the management team, mission statement. Why did we decide to set up this business? You know, all about reputation and trust. Then once you've built all of that into that page, people will then feel more trustworthy that they've actually got a lot of information about who you are. It's not filtered across the whole website. It's one place, trust page. You get them to attract that trust. And believe me, when they're reading that trust page, the level of uncertainty starts to drop. And that's your intention. And then you can go to product. So you can say, now you trust us, have a look at our properties. And then you take them to look at properties, and you'll have a 80% more chance to convert a direct booking after somebody's read your trust page than you will if you don't have a trust page.
Wow, that's really powerful. There's a lot of things that I hadn't really sort of followed through with that. And especially having all of those things just in one place, as you say, your cancellation probably, I-PRAC, perhaps some awards.
Your investment in the local community. Maybe you sponsor a five-a-side team. Maybe you do some, whatever you do. But this is all about showing who the business is. The mission statement is a big one. This is our drive. I'm Emma Howard from Pure Abodes. This is my mission. People get attracted to that. You've got to treat people like they want to feel. They start to feel like they know you. Maybe even a little 2-minute video of who you are. Like they can see that face. These are all trust signals. And they add to your trust score as people are going through your website. But if you don't get that right, like I've said many times, most people, for some reason, and this is probably just due because it's just dinosaur thinking, that if they go and get something like an I-PRAC certification, they go and put the logo on the footer, and nobody scrolls to the footer. How many times do you go on the website and just scroll straight down the footer? Let's have a look at the footer. You don't. The first thing is above the fold. On a website, above the fold is your prime real estate. No scrolling, no nothing. As soon as you hit that website, that's what you see as a customer. So what do you see? Do you see, if somebody's looking at, I don't know, Liverpool for accommodation, luxury apartments in Liverpool, I'm in the right place. Our customers trust us. Here's why. I-PRAC certified since 19 whatever. All of a sudden, people, I feel like this is a company that we can trust. And things like the company registration number, the contact address, the email, just having a Gmail is really poor. It's really poor. If you've got a company called Pure Abodes, your email should be emma@pureabodes.com, not emma@gmail.com. Right? You got
that one right.
Anyway, I checked before. But you understand, it's the little things that make a difference, because trust isn't one big thing. It's called trust stacking. It's little things accumulated together that increases your trust score, your reputation. Because people talk about branding today, but let me tell you, branding is just a new word for reputation. Just a bit more posh. You know what I mean? Just sounds better, doesn't it? It sounds better in the boardroom. But reputation is everything. So having them write reviews on your trust page, it's about trying to put yourself in the shoes of a potential guest and understanding the level of uncertainty that they have. And how can I reduce that uncertainty down to pretty much zero? And you have to do that through your marketing, through your cancellation policy, through your pricing, through your reviews, through the quality of your website. And, I mean, look at the websites today. It makes me feel a bit angry, to be honest, that people can come into the short-term rental space, get their cousin to build them a little 4-page WordPress and think that that's going to work. Like, who's going to send you £3,000-4,000? Nobody. So your Google Analytics will tell you what your bounce rate is.
Yeah.
And when you do that trust strategy on your homepage above the fold, and you start looking at your Google Analytics for your website performance, you will see that your bounce rate might start off at like 80 or 90%. If you get that homepage right, you'll reduce that down to like 40-30% just by having the right website. So I think today people think that they are trustworthy. I'm a trustworthy person. I'm a trustworthy guy, woman, whatever. And that automatically they think then everybody else should trust me. But it doesn't work like that, and this is the problem that people have. So your job as a short-term rental property manager or owner is to showcase and give people compelling reasons why they can book with you directly with 100% confidence and peace of mind and trust. That's what your job is.
Amazing. So look, we're running out of time now, Chris. I really want you to explain, I-PRAC, what exactly it is. Obviously, I mean, we've talked about what the benefits are of having it on a website, but just talk us through, for anyone who perhaps is new to short-term rental, perhaps hasn't heard of it yet. Where and when might they look at it? Should they be looking at it at one property? Give us a bit of feedback on it.
I think, well, first of all, you should be looking at it once you're starting to build your own direct booking website. That's the time you've got to be starting to look at becoming I-PRAC certified. If you're not ready, if you're not ready to build your own website, then it's probably better to keep that on hold for the moment, But I-PRAC itself, it stands for International Property Rental Approval Certification. That's what it stands for, okay? And basically, when you apply to become I-PRAC certified, you go through an application, and it's quite in-depth because we need to have all of the data to be able to certify you as a legitimate operator. So there's I mean, you've gone through it anyway, haven't you? So you know the amount of documents that we need, but we have to have them because our underwriter, when any guest books with an I-PRAC member, their payments are insured against fraud, which is the biggest, uncertainty that somebody has. Will my money be safe? Will I arrive and the property will it exist? So we cover that. So our underwriter requires that level of in-depth approval process. So we have to have, the passports of the directors, the company registration documents, website addresses, social media, bank account confirmation. So we can phone numbers, emails. We do photo recognition on their websites. We have about 27 pinpoints where we do our, 40% of it's manual and 60% of it now is actually through AI in terms of automation. But basically, once you become approved, you then get your I-PRAC logo, and your I-PRAC logo is unique to your business. So your I-PRAC logo has your ID number embedded in the logo. So when you put that I-PRAC logo on your website, somebody can look at your ID number, go to the I-PRAC website, type in that ID number and see your I-PRAC profile and register their booking through that. They can see your logo, their certificate, all of your registered documents, everything. So basically what you're doing is, by showcasing to your potential guests that you're I-PRAC certified, it's basically saying we've gone through a robust approval process by the number one, reputable, certification platform in the industry, and they have approved us. And when you book with us directly, your payments are guaranteed. So what that does is it massively increases that opportunity to convert a potential booking into an actual booking. Because even at the I-PRAC head office in Manchester, we get so many phone calls on a daily basis where basically a guest is phoning up the office and saying, we've just saw that this company's got your logo on the website. Can you just explain a little bit of what it means? Are they official? Can we book with them directly? Is it? And we're like, yeah, we do the search. So yeah, they're a member of us. Yeah, you can book with them directly. Just make sure you pay to the bank account that's listed on the profile, not another one. But it's all explained on the profile, all of that, so it's very straightforward. But it just goes to show that people are looking for that reassurance. So by having the I-PRAC logo on your website and explaining to the guest what it is, because let's be honest, some people might not know what it is. So don't just put I-PRAC certified. It's like, well, that could be fine. Tell people a little bit about what it means and what the benefits are to it. But I'll guarantee that if you're getting I-PRAC certified and introducing the tools and using it as your trust marketing strategy, it will increase your direct bookings by 60-70% for sure.
Amazing.
It's the best tool for me. It's the best direct booking tool on the market. And I'm biased, but if somebody can find a better one, then I'll have a conversation with them.
Absolutely. And I've just got one sort of final question to you. So obviously we'll put links. I mean, everyone can just Google I-PRAC, but we'll put some links in the notes as well. But one thing for me, and I'm sure that you do look back, but you started, in the world of short-term rental 24 years ago. You built up a fantastic business. Then you saw an area that wasn't so good about that sort of industry. Yeah. You've gone in and created I-PRAC, created this kind of new era of trust strategy. You just walked through it. How does that make you feel, knowing you said it was 15,000 members? How does that make you feel now? Because that is You know, that is so huge.
Mm.
Do you brush it off, or do you actually take
No,
time to absorb that?
no. I mean, I feel very proud of what we've built, but you know, it's having the idea is one thing,
Mm.
executing it is another thing, and then building the team to make it grow is the other thing. And we've managed to do all that, not as straightforward as people might think, but I'm extremely proud of what we're building, and we've got such a long way to go. But yeah, it's from when you think about an idea of like when that happened in 2014, and I came home and I said to my wife, imagine if we went away with our 3 kids and that happened. Like I just don't know, you know. So we've got to solve this problem. So investing like nearly, I think it was like 600,000 at the start of my own money to build it. I mean, and I think we've probably invested about 5 million in total now, like to where we are today. But it's extremely proud. I mean, it's like from an idea on a kitchen table to where we are today. But I'm more proud of the fact that I'm supporting the industry, you know, because we never went out there to build like a really profitable company. That wasn't the intention. The intention at the start was to build a platform that would solve the problem of fraud. So basically, it would give guests the opportunity to book with legitimate operators with peace of mind and confidence, but also give property owners and managers the tool to showcase that they are trustworthy and professional. So it works for both people within the sector. And so as we grow, we're just making the industry more trusted. And that's what I'm most proud of.
Yeah, well, I think it's absolutely tremendous, Chris. I always really value this time. I know we haven't spent as much time together since the clubhouse days and during lockdown. I know we spent a bit more time together, but yeah, I really genuinely do appreciate what you're doing for the industry. I think it's really so eye-opening. It's making people look at things in a different way. It's making them run their businesses in a different way, and to have that level of transformation, and also just to help so many people. You must be so.
And I think as well, since the launch of I-PRAC and everything, at the start it was more like just a certification, and we would provide the logo and the certificate. But since then, I mean, now what we're doing now to our members is we've got a whole education plan for our members as well. So when they become approved, they can have all of the content and the resources to help them input it the right way. And Neely, I don't know whether you know Neely she's our MD who came in October, and she's got like a completely different vision to what I had, but I love it because she's brought a new perspective to see where the direction is going in terms of what we need to is to guide our members into how they can build a better company. And I can help with that because of the level of my experience of what I've gone through, you know. So and Neely's now basically trying to get my time to get all of my knowledge from building my own short-term rental company and putting it into really actual content that our members can read and go, wow. Because we've got the launch of the Trustology coming out in the next 2 months, which is basically the whole A to Z of how to build a trusted business from start to finish.
Wow,
and we're bringing that out as well. So our members are getting so much value, not only from the actual certification itself, but we're now building in these educational areas so that they can learn how to, and we're going to be working soon with a finance professional who can show them the P&L side of things. So not just the certification, some real help in how to start that business. So becoming I-PRAC approved can be like a real tool in your toolkit.
Wow.
I think that's really exciting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
Well, Chris, thank you very, very much.
You're
As
welcome.
I say, really, really appreciate your time here with us today. And yeah, look forward to seeing everyone. I think I'm going to be back. I know it's half term next week, but I'm going to be here next Monday. And then it'll be the following week that I'm not going to be there because it's my daughter's birthday. So we're going to go to the Science Museum.
Wow.
So that would be good. But yes, so again, thanks so much for being here, Chris. I'll put the link to I-PRAC in the notes. And yeah, please do go and have a look. And, you know, to have Trustology coming out in a couple of months, giving you that step-by-step from start to finish is really something to add to the portfolio. Brilliant. Thank you so much, Chris.
Thanks, Emma. It's always a pleasure.
And you. Bye-bye.